You should be the host here.
We're laughing at you.
We're both Munster people, diehard Munster people, and we want them to do well.
The Red 78 with Alan Quinlan and Niamh Briggs. Nobody knows Munster rugby better.
I'd like to think I know a lot. Hello and welcome along to the Red 78 here on the Rugby channel, your one-stop shop for all the Munster rugby talk you could ever want. Some of it is good. We hope most of it is good. Some of it is maybe not so good some weeks. And of course, with me as always is Niamh Briggs, my partner in crime. We're not alone this week. We're very, very lucky to have the Munster forwards coach, Graham Rowntree, with us. You're very welcome along, Graham. I'm not going to read out all your achievements and your caps for England, British and Irish Lions, and all your coaching roles that you've had. But currently, obviously, we talk about Munster rugby here, and we've been told by a little birdie told us that sometimes you listen. So we said it's good to get you on and give you a platform to have a chat about what's happening and in Munster rugby. And you're just back from South Africa, a busy trip for you. And a busy season coming up. So look, you're very welcome along. Thank you for joining us.
Well, hi lads. Hi Quinny. Hi Niamh. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I do listen. Apart from when Billy Holland's on, because he sends me a reminder of listening to Holland again last time he was on. But no, I do listen. Thanks for having me. Yeah, been a busy couple of weeks. In South Africa, we got back Sunday lunchtime. Disappointing, but I'm sure we'll get into that. But no, thanks for having me.
Yeah, look, Graham, I know we've had good conversations over the last while in relation to coaching and everything like that. But I suppose the one question on everybody's minds and tips of everybody's tongues and fans especially is, what's coming down the road in relation to the head coaching job. I think, obviously,
Maybe we're getting an exclusive, Niamh, are we?
Hopefully, but look, I think rumors out there that definitely you went for the interview, and is there any kind of update? I think on it. I think this is what we're trying to find out.
I think everybody knows my coaching aspirations and what I think of this club. Is a process, an ongoing process. It's not the quickest process ever, I have to say. But it's still ongoing. I really can't. I can't tell you any more than that. Sorry. No,
that's good. That's good. Can I just ask you? Probably the big thing is what draws you to this club. I think you seem to have settled in really, really well. From both the any player that I've ever spoke to speaks so highly of you and the culture and the environment that you drive. And I just think how is it that you found yourself in Munster and are you enjoying it?
I think since I finished playing, started coaching, I've had a few jobs, not loads, worked in different environments, but I've never had the affinity or the connection to a club like I have for Munster at the moment. Because simply it's like the club I grew up in, at Leicester, and we're old foes, and I'm not even going to mention that final in Cardiff. I wasn't on the field at the time, right? I wasn't on the field. I've been sick. Right?
We won't mention, there's no need to bring Neil back into it, but I just was wondering, I was going to say, is there any chance you could round up a few of your former Leicester teammates and give us back a few of those medals?
No. Got enough medals, you lot. You got enough.
It wasn't. Hey, come here. There's a myth going around that because of what Neil Back did, that cost us the game. We had a chance of scoring, but I think we'd be the first to acknowledge as players that we were probably still on a learning curve in 2002, and that was an incredible Leicester side you were on. Martin Curry, Moody, Dorian West, yourself, Garford, Johnson, Ben Kay, all these guys. And I remember going into that final, Graham, one of your big strengths that year was your maul. And we had this plan, stop the Leicester maul, and we might have a chance then. We stopped them all, but we conceded two tries. And I remember we threw the kitchen sink at you, but it was an incredible side. That was an incredible Leicester side. And just to add on to what Niamh said, because that always intrigued me, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's a lot of similarities with Leicester and Munster, the fans, the passion, the old school approach, European rugby. Is that something maybe that kind of, is there similarities there?
Absolutely. Grounded, good grounded people. There's a humility and a passion in the community. You can feel it. And I'd never, having played against Munster many times, I'd never played at Thomond Park. Never. It was either at Leicester or in the Millennium, for example. And just when I joined the club 3 years ago, went to Thomond for the first time. Wow. I mean, that's a cathedral of rugby, that is. What a stadium that is. So there's lots of similarities, but I mean it when I say I have an affinity with the club. I've moved my family over. They're really enjoying it. They couldn't have settled in any better and into the local community, the local school, and we like to play more rugby, more sport than ever. I've got 3 kids. I've got a daughter of 22 and 2 boys of 19 and 15. My 19-year-old is over in Loughborough University studying. He's on the books for Leicester's development team. But my youngest lad plays for Bows, UL Bows, and he's never
Great
played.
club. Great club.
Good coaches there, Niamh. Good coaching there. And he loves it. He loves it. So, they couldn't have settled in any better.
That's class. Just going from the transition of player to coach, look, I'm kind of in the middle of it at the moment. It's very,
You're doing all right, aren't you?
It's a very kind of intriguing pathway. A lot of your Leicester teammates, very few of them kind of went into coaching, a lot of them went into media and other type of stuff. Like, what drew you to that coaching element?
Before I finished playing, I was doing a bit of work with the academy, and I got a taste for coaching. I do a bit on a Monday night with the academy. I just enjoy it. I love the teaching aspect of it, sharing stuff, getting lads ready for a game. And I was very lucky with some of my early coaching gigs. I mean, crikey, I was a player coach in my last year at Leicester, and in fact, the club retired me in 2007. They said, Graham, we've got this lad called Martin Castrogiovanni and Marcus Ayeza. They're joining us. We'd like you to stay in the books and be ready if we ever need you. They never needed me.
They were brilliant players, weren't they?
Oh, change propping. Crikey, I think of my involvement in the game compared to theirs, it's frightening. So I did a year at Leicester helping out the academy in the second team. Then I got an offer to work for England as a academy coach, a scrum coach. And next thing I knew, I was at the 2007 World Cup, seconded to the first team. And that was just an unbelievable experience. I was very lucky, early on, I was working with some class coaches. And then I said, the biggest thing that changed my coaching career was, as part of the England job, I used to go around all the Premiership clubs, and I used to go to Wasps a lot because I was intrigued by their coaching team. They had Sean Edwards there and Sir Ian McGeegan. Next thing I know, I'm on a Lions tour with them in 2009 with Gatland, McGeegan, Edwards. You should have been there, Quinny.
In 2009, yeah.
We won't go there. But that was an unbelievable coaching experience so early in my career. And I'd say I've just been very lucky to work with some really good coaches.
Do you think coaches, you talk about luck, do you think they need an element of luck?
Yep.
Does timing have to be right?
Absolutely.
Because I think the timing of hypothetically what potentially could happen. So we'll say hypothetically with you taking over a Munster job, with a lot of good young players, I think it'd probably be fair to say that, it's been topsy-turvy for Munster in the last number of years. Some very good high points, some very good wins. No trophy since 2011. There's probably an expectation, a pressure there to, that goes with the likes of Leicester and Munster and teams who've done well in Europe historically. Do you think the timing of this could be right for you? If it was potentially going to happen, you're staying on anyway. You're going to be there anyway because you've signed a new contract. So
I'm with this group,
Right, you're with this group for the next 2 years. So let's just say as an assistant coach. So that'd be fair.
Yeah, I think that the time is right. I think that's one thing that was a real plus point out of the disappointment of the last 2 weeks. Right, let's not escape. We're disappointed we didn't win them games. We come home with 2 losing bonus points. We quite easily could have come home with 10 points. The disappointment is huge, but these young lads are just getting better and better, Quinny. And they're in a hostile environment at altitude at 28 degrees, and they're learning. I look at the young lads and their performances. That's that's what makes me proud to be involved with this club. I think there's a time now where there's lads coming through, and just underneath in the academy, and we're looking at filling the academy from underneath the local schools, what's coming through. I mean, I don't know if you saw the schools final last week.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's an exciting time for the club. But we know there's a demand to win a flipping trophy. But I tell you one thing, we're not far off. And we've shown that in the last couple of years. It's that last bit we've got to get right, that last bit under pressure in the moment and win a final. We know that. We know there's that expectancy. But all we can do is what we can change every day, every session, every game.
And I think the expectancy at times can be unfair, Graham. Again, similarity with Leicester, you know, they've gone through a tricky period. You know, a lot of coaches changes there. There seem to be kind of turning a corner now. There's optimism and enthusiasm there about Leicester. Is it unfair? Is that
No, I don't. I'm not sure whether it's unfair or not. I can see the expectation. I can see it, and we know it. When you take the job, particularly at a club like this, you get paid for the pressure, Quinny. You get paid to deal and work under pressure. That's every day, week in, week out, and every game in the key moments as a coach, under pressure, doing the right thing. We know that when we sign on. All we can do is get these lads better, play better, win games.
I don't know who'd want to be a coach. Niamh is heading into Six Nations with the Irish women's team now as well. And, you know, you've an incredibly busy end of season. Who would want to be a coach? I don't know how you deal with that pressure that you're talking about.
I can't imagine what I'd do if I wasn't coaching.
Yeah.
No, I can't imagine not doing it. It's what drives me on. And I'm not where I want to be. I'm not as good as I can be yet. And you're always learning. And, you know, I say to Niamh and any other young coaches or coaches who are newer to the gig, you've got to learn off as many people as you can, off every environment, every coach you come across. But be yourself. You know, be yourself. We all have our own style. And I've worked with a lot of guys and I like that, but that's not for me. But you got to be yourself, and you don't have to coach as you were coached. I think that's important. You got to just be yourself.
Do you know, in relation to that pressure, that expectation, how do you prepare players for that? Because let's face it, like Quinny's talk, negative. When it's constant, or you know, you put in a tough or a poor performance, and look, you all know in the dressing room that wasn't what you wanted or expected. The ability to be able to get them to bounce back, or maybe to block out that white noise, because you understand that, you know, that inside your own bubble you're seeing improvements. Like, I thought you were really unfortunate last weekend against the Lions. I thought some of the rugby you played was some of the best I'd seen. Like, that Finning Wycherley try was super. And that's what, you know, fans have been crying out for a long time. And with that high risk comes high reward, you know, and sometimes results don't go your way from it. But you know, in your own little bubble that, you know, you're trying things and you're improving every week. I just wonder, from that player perspective, how do you shield them from that kind of pressure, expectation, negativity?
You control what you can in terms of your performance. That's all we can do. Control what we can. Like at the weekend, I mean, we were 21-10 at 50 minutes. We have a try disallowed. Perfectly good try disallowed. It took us to 28-10. And even at 65 minutes, we're still 21-10. Then we fell away, really, at the back end of the game, under pressure, under extreme circumstances that these lads have never had before, with the temperature and the altitude. You know, we made a couple of key mistakes, and that cost us the game. It's not good enough, but we know that. So we come in today, we look at, right, lads, what we're going to learn from, what we're going to do better in these moments. But in terms of expectation, we can just control what we do on the field, tactically, physically, and train. I think it's important. I look at how we train now. You've got to train at an intensity to get them ready for the match demands now, for nearly a 40-minute ball in play time. You've got to get them ready for that, but that's all we can control. The rest of it takes care of itself.
Yeah. Graham, if we could ask you, just with and people will be probably interested, Munster fans who listen to the podcast, just what was it like? Obviously, rugby players move on, coaches move on. I understand that's part of life. Johan is moving on. Stephen Larkham is moving on. There's changes. It happens. It's a professional sport. As you say, people get paid. What's it been like? Because I think Munster fans would be intrigued to know, has anything changed? What's it like for you, who's going to stay on out of that coaching ticket? Has anything been different, or is it just everybody trying to be professional? And I'm sure Johan is trying to give it his all, as you all are, to try and get results as well.
He's not just trying to give it all. He is, quite frankly. Those lads have been bang on 1,000%, as they always have been, in terms of their diligence and their attention to the job. December was a messy month, Quinny.
Yeah.
You know, Steve announced he was leaving. Then the squad gets decimated with Omicron. We're in South Africa. I was one of the ones left over there. Wasn't too bad. The wine.
I believe you were having a few tipples of wine with the video analyst George, and you were kind of toasting each other on the balconies.
The wine is exceptional. No, the funny thing was, in the trip we'd filled all the kit bags with wine to bring home, and the lads had left it in the kit bags to be sent home with DHL, but DHL, unfortunately, they couldn't send the wine home. So we had it.
He sorted it out.
We were going through these bags of all the wine that the lads were trying to ship home for themselves. So that kept us going in isolation. But in that month, joking aside, then Johan's announcement. And in that week, we're playing Wasps in the European Cup with a young group and a British Lion group. So you got this team of young lads and old lads. And I think Niamh spoke before about how Pete, you went down to watch some training, Niamh.
Yeah.
And Pete was driving these young lads, pulling these young lads with him. So we're playing that game. Then we play Cast the week after in similar circumstances. It's madness, you know, and I'm still in South Africa, in isolation. Then we come back to the UK, and the HSE, bless them, made us do another 10 days isolation here just to be sure. So I got out of isolation just before Christmas, but that month was crazy. And we had to deal with a lot of stuff going on then. A turmoil, for want of a better expression. Then we hit January. Then we had the disappointment of the Connacht game, which just wasn't good enough. We can't hide away from that. Do
you think that after the Connacht game, I was going to ask you that, and was it unfair, some of the stuff that was said about Johan, that maybe his mind isn't on the job and he should go now? And I thought personally, I was trying to be balanced. I thought the performance was poor.
It was.
No, don't get me wrong, but I think it was unfair to suggest that Johan's mind wasn't on the job, and that, you know, but look, that happens when things go wrong. You see it in football in the UK, all the United fans turning on the United board and all that, even though I'm a Liverpool fan, but that can happen. Yeah. Do you think it was a bit unfair, that?
Of course, yeah. I'm loyal to a great man, not just a great coach, but a great man. And it was, but that, you know, that's what you get with sport. That, as I say, you get paid to deal with that pressure. But it didn't affect anything that we were doing. We just got to drive on day in, day out, and just worry about what we're doing here and worry about our performances. But in answer to your original question, when it all broke over that time, it was hard work. But those coaches, they've been just the same, impeccable about what they've been delivering day in, day out.
And do you think that Connacht game was a reason for some change in the way the team has played since? Because both Niamh and I have been positive about a little bit more expansive stuff that we've seen. Or is that unfair to suggest that just because that performance was not so expansive and it was poor with respect to Connacht, or maybe the disjointed? We were saying the mitigating factors were because of all the disjointed stuff and COVID and not getting a settled team as well. But we definitely have seen more accuracy, lots of width in the game, and inventiveness in the way you're trying to play. It doesn't always work, but we've been enthused by that.
Well, I think you've seen that anyway, Quinny. You've seen that anyway. I look back to
Scarlets.
I think back to Stormers, the last try.
Stormers, yeah.
The pairs of hands that ball went through, you know, that expansion, the way Steve's got us playing. I think you've seen it. But let's give Connacht some credit here. They stopped us playing on New Year's Day. We didn't help ourselves. We didn't have a lot of territory or possession, to be honest, but they stopped us playing. But the way we're trying to play, you've got to have lots of ways of playing available at any one time. We want to play these days. You've got to be challenging teams, moving them around. But I think before that game, you've seen how we're trying to play more expansively. I think you have definitely seen
that. What is I was just saying to Quinny beforehand, it must be really difficult to get off the plane to South Africa on a Sunday and prepare for a match for a Friday in Cork. That's a big ask for players. And I know you'll have the guys coming back from a really good Six Nations campaign, both from the 20s and from the seniors. They're obviously not going to be involved this week, but majority of them, I imagine. So, is that, a tough thing to do to try and go, okay, listen, we're just back. We've got 3 or 4 days to prepare. Well, let's get to Cork, because we've seen through the 20s how much the Cork people come out and support rugby.
I think what we have learned the last couple of years is dealing with change. I mean, we went through a period, I think we played Edinburgh at home 18 months ago with just a team run that week because of COVID. We're used to dealing with change. You're used to adapting to changing squad day in, day out. The lads have been great. They're just used to it now. They're used to changing environments, flying over there, getting used to the heat, the altitude, coming back. We've given them a bit more recovery today. We'll have a proper day tomorrow. Go down to Cork Friday. But our standards won't drop. They're just used to it. Yeah. Good lads, and we train them hard, and we've got a good squad. We won't have everyone back, unfortunately, from the Six Nations, but the lads we have got, they're chomping at the bit. And what you have seen is a real increase in competition within the squad. I look at the back five of the scrum, for example. Never mind front row. I'm just going to be selfishly talk about forwards, but the increased competition there is noticeable.
And do you think? Go ahead, Niamh.
No, work away. Sorry, Quinny.
Do you think the next couple of weeks? It's obviously an incredibly busy period for you, Graham, and there's a lot on the line. You've got 5 URC games left, European run. Do you see yourselves having a settled side, or still mixing and matching a little bit, or is this kind of for players now? The door, obviously, you'll say, is open, but do you think we'll see a pretty settled side in the next period of time? Because all these games are vital. You've got double against Leinster, you're away to Ulster, you've had a double header against Exeter. Obviously, everybody can't play every week, but this is a really busy. This is the business side of things, isn't it? Really, this is where the pressure ramps up.
Yeah, it is, and I see, in my experience of being here, I think the competition's greater now than ever. Because lads are coming through and putting their hands up. Lads are performing, young lads. Again, you go back. You just mentioned the Scarlets game in September, where everyone perceived us as sending a second team, and we put 40-odd points on Scarlets. And since then, as I said, in the last couple of weeks, lads are really showing us what they can do under extreme pressure. I think the competition is stronger than ever, and I'd say the selection meetings will be longer than we're used to when those guys come back, if that answers your question.
But I think what I probably mean is the need to get continuity for coaches. Obviously, you have to use your squad, and that's a given. You need a big squad. I think you've used up in late 50s or something this year, isn't it? It's incredible. But is it easier for you as a coach to try and, do you have to narrow it in a little bit now and say, look, get into this 25, 28 players, because, the more chopping and changing you have as a coach, you lose a little bit of continuity.
Yeah, and I get what you mean. Yeah, and we get down to this end of the season, to this run, you go for your experience. You'll tend to look towards the guys who have proven it on the big occasion. Naturally, that's just common sense.
What's the goal for you now heading into the end of this part? I know it's obviously, if they flippantly say win trophies, but in terms of building, you're talking about strength and depth. When you look at young guys coming through that playing really, really well, it excites me. I get really enthused by it because I think it's class. And then you've got the likes of the lads coming back from Six Nations and pushing back in there. Genuinely you must be buzzing heading to training every day, going I can't wait to see these lads have a crack off each other and see what the energy is like. But then realistically, look, rightly or wrongly, and whether you like it or not, Leinster have been standard bearer for the last number of years in both Europe and in the local league. And then obviously they provide a huge amount of players in Ireland. And Quinny made me say all this, by the way. So
unavoidable fact.
So what's your, like, I suppose, realistic goal towards this this end of the season?
Win every week. Win the next one. Niamh, sorry. I'm not good.
No, I love it. I'm just
Win the
wondering in
next
terms
game.
of that. Yeah.
I'd say by now, because we have had a good look at lots of guys and competition is good because of that. I say now it'll be form and experience that counts going into these big games, and just win the next game. Win the next game.
Have you been impressed with Ireland Six Nations? Just we'll drift off this for a minute. We're not going to keep you much longer, Graham. But obviously you worked with Faz. You'd be close to him. What he's done with Ireland, my cat as well. And I'm sure from your point of view, again, as an assistant coach for the next 2 years, we'll say, you want to get more Munster guys onto that Irish team. And that was when I played with Munster, that was one of the goals. And it'll be a goal for each province, more guys in the Irish team. Because if you have more guys playing international, you're doing something right. You're improving. There's obviously, and I really believe, and I'm not just saying this, I think we've done this piece every week, Are You Watching Andy Farrell? And we've picked out a few players. And we both genuinely believe there's future internationals in these young players that you're talking about. Do you see a pathway up? And obviously Faz would keep an eye on some of these guys. And would that be a goal to get more of them into a green shirt?
Absolutely. Yeah. We want the club. It's a historic club steeped in international caps is Munster. Now I want as many of them to play for Ireland as possible. In answer to your first question, yeah, I've been impressed. I mean, they've continued. I mean, I think Ireland, they put down a marker against New Zealand, and they've not took the foot off the pedal, have they? I'd be really impressed with their ability to play quick, keep the ball. Their breakdown is smart, it's quick, it's aggressive, and you can't get near them. And they're challenging teams right across the park. You've got to defend their rolling ball. Look at Dan Sheehan's try at the weekend. You defend them all, then he pops out. You've got to defend their phase attack, smart kicking game. I just think they've got real threats everywhere, but I like the speed at which they're doing things.
And would you look at any of that type of play? I know that a lot of them are Leinster players, and your own philosophy. Would you take stuff from that? Because I know some of the Munster guys would take stuff back themselves personally. And is that a way Munster can play as well?
Yeah, look, as I say, I think you've seen that from us this season. Not all the time. You've got to play the conditions. I mean, we seem to have played in a lot of bloody rain this season.
Yeah, definitely.
You're living in Limerick now, Graham. It's always raining.
It is, isn't it? There's always that wind. That was what was weird in Pretoria. There's no wind. I'm thinking, where's that wind that's always here in Limerick? No, we all want to play the game. To challenge teams, as a forwards coach, if you move our forwards around and make them scrum and make them maul, it's hard work. There's going to be a crack, a seam, or a hole appear somewhere. You've got to make teams work these days. And I think everyone's trying to do it. But no, I've been really impressed with what Andy's got him doing. As I'd say, the breakdown has been very impressive. And
the modern day game really is continuously built around defence. It's particularly if you're trying to score tries, is how do you break down defence? I remember when Mike Ford came over to Ireland probably 20 years ago when I was playing with Ireland, and we, for the first time ever, we got systems. Those systems now have gone to a point where it's hard when you're playing against teams who get in your face, make it difficult. And that's probably, is that something you're very conscious of? And in your own philosophy, you would look at other teams and what they do as well?
Yeah.
Look outside the box? And
ultimately, you've got to be patient. We call it staying in it. You've got to be patient, wait for your turn. And that might be phases. I mean, we had a passage of play at the weekend of 20 phases. That might be in a kicking battle. Staying patient, stay in it, wait for your moment, and bang, you've got to take it. And by taking it, you've got to be used to training at an intensity in training. Bang, take the opportunity in training. That's the art to it.
game is evolving all the time. So when you look at probably when both of you played, it was very much like forward dominated in terms of like mauls, like Munster, Leicester, very good, very strong packs. And then we kind of went to this big rush defence, and then we kind of went to different things. Like the trends, what are the trends of the game now that you're like, is it that high intensity ball and play time that you're looking to achieve? Is that kind of where it's going now? Because you look at, like, say, obviously with Ty Furlong's been an exception, but then you see Stephen Archer and John Ryan making breaks off a boot pass or a spot pass. You're thinking, God, like, how long ago were they just stuck in and around the ruck? Now we're looking to evolve, and I just think, is that the way the game is kind of going, do you think?
Yep, yeah, you need props. I think I compare those lads, those props who are playing now to when I played. I touched the ball once a month, and I'd probably drop that. And I look at the guys now, they've got to be able to pass, carry, they've got to be able to deceive defenders, look defenders in the eyes, pass the ball out the back. They've got to be able to offload, they've got to be able to defend, they've got to be agile, they've got to be able to scrum, tackle, be dependable defenders, get the spacings right. There's so much demanded from them in a game. I have nothing but admiration for them. And you're on about the game development from our day, which was quite a set piece game. I remember suddenly you found all these rugby league coaches coming into uni, like you mentioned, Mike, for Phil Larder with England. And suddenly we had a structure. Suddenly there's a wall in front of you, and then all of a sudden, then you're manipulating, developing a game to just manipulate defences, and that's where we're at now. And it just keeps going and going every year. And the ball is in play longer, so you've got to be able to defend longer, and you've got to work out and break down defences. I think Andy Farrell used an expression of telling lies to the defence, and just manipulating and pulling balls out the back. You've got to be able to do it across the board, all your players.
And every coach, Graham, and every coach is going to be under pressure at some stage. Period of the season, maybe for a season, whatever. Look at Eddie Jones 2 years ago. England are winning a World Cup. Possibly South Africa beat them in the end with a brilliant performance. A lot of questions about him now in the UK. Like, what's the mood over there like? I think the RFU have come out and backed him at the weekend. You probably have no sympathy for him because he let you and Faz go in 2015.
I just got over it till you mentioned it. Look, I admire the guy. I genuinely, I like his style.
He's tenacious, isn't he, and resilient?
Yeah, he's got some charisma. I like how he handles the media. He talks about what he wants to talk about. He's clearly a very good coach. And I can see why the RFU are backing him. I mean, not long ago, they're in a World Cup final. Yeah. And the players and the playing squad, and he's building a squad there ready for next year. But I'm sure come the World Cup that they'll be there or thereabouts.
Okay, Graham, we're not going to keep you. Just finally, I think on the Munster fans, rightly or wrongly, and I don't think any of us, even ex-players, have an expectation, have a divine right to know what's going on, or we all have our opinions. Okay, so you genuinely believe, and I mean this when I say I love your passion. I love the way you've said you want to stay with Munster even before you signed. You're in for the head coach job. What would you say to the Munster fans now about the group you have, about their honesty and their desire, and where you see this club going? There's no divine right to win trophies for anybody, but I just think if Munster fans see commitment, desire, passion, work rate, I think they'll accept that. They love a trophy as well.
But I see that day in, day out, Quinny. I see that at the week. I see that. We're not always, we don't win as many games as people would want us to. But I see that, and I just urge those fans, stick with us. We can feel you. We can feel it, Thomond Park. We can feel your expectation. Stick with us, because I promise you, we've got a group of players who will deliver. Okay, Graham. Look, really appreciate it. I know you've had a busy day, as you said. That's it for episode 24 of the Red 78. And make sure you get your podcast straight to your phone every week. Just search the Red 78 wherever you get your podcast and press subscribe. Don't forget in touch with some tweets on the Rugby channel at Rugby Channel 15, or else you can tweet Niamh and myself. And that's it. That's it for this week. Good luck against Benetton, and you've got a very, very busy couple of weeks. And
if you're announced as head coach tomorrow, you're in big trouble with me and Niamh Briggs. But no comment again. You can't say anything to that. We understand the process. Good luck. Hope it works out for you, and best of luck between now and the end of the season.
Thanks a million, Graham.
Cheers. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
The Munster Rugby Podcast. Red 78 with Alan Quinlan and Niamh Briggs. Nobody knows Munster Rugby better.